All right. Have you heard Melissa's curtain speech, by the way?
I have not.
It's amazing.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, the pressure is on then.
Oh, she really talks about the mission of the theater,
That's
and
right.
how important the audience is.
Totally.
And she's right on. She's right on. But she also talks about the brilliance of the people involved. And I want to say, the directing of the 2 plays that you directed, including mine, was really, really interesting and wonderful. And it served. I can only speak for my play, but it served the play.
Good. I hope so. That's obviously my goal as a director. You know, I think that they were really scared of it.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Because I think they build it as a night of absurd theater.
Yes.
And I think absurd has a really negative connotation to it. And it makes people really scared of it. And I really wanted them to see how relatable it is and how down to earth it can be, while keeping it in a style where it can be the exaggerated fun style that they wanted it to be. Does that make sense?
That definitely makes sense.
So yeah.
And that's I think that sort of taps into what I touch on whenever I'm writing things that are, well, with most of my writing, it all has to be based on some truth.
Right.
And the deepest truth is always the best writing, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So if you're directing, trying to find that deep truth, that's a very happy partnership.
I would say that worked out really nicely. Yeah, I mean, it's I think that's sort of my key always. That's my style. I think as a director, is I'm always looking for the deep root that we can all connect to. I mean, I think that's what theater is about. It's something that we can connect with, you know. So I think when people approach something that they're unfamiliar with, which, you know, in this case, we're dealing with younger professionals, they sometimes can be reluctant to go out and grasp a major, large character that's stylized, and can totally discount all of the realism and the things that are actually written into the character that make it what it is. And that goes back to the absurdism for me. People are afraid of absurdism. And people are afraid of realism too. So, you know, finding that happy medium, yeah, it's all fear all around. And finding that thing that you can connect with and can inform both the audience and yourself is really important. And that was the sort of central mission, I think, that I had.
Excellent. It's really interesting to me. Well, I'm actually very curious. Like, well, how do you get them to not be afraid of a play? You know, and how do you get them to really find something in themselves to bring to those roles? I mean, those are, you know, I mean, one fellow is named Bug,
right?
And you know, how do you get him to relate to that and find the reality?
Well, I think, you know, it starts on a superficial level all the time, where you just say, what is, you know, let's start Stanislavski. What are the objectives? What do they want, and how are they feeling? You know, and if you can start with the basics, then you can always go more deeply. I mean, you know, acting is reacting. I'm sure millions of acting teachers across the country have said that, right? So if you can start with the basics, and then you can see why they're having the conversation they're having, then already you've informed yourself more about the basis of what's happening in the scene than a lot of the theater you see around, I think.
Excellent.
That's my take. I don't know how you feel.
Bryce. I think you did a great job.
Thank you. So
and I love the lights, by the way, the lighting effects. I've never seen that done the way you did it.
That was a conceptual thing to link both the pieces without having to come up with some major prologue to link them together. You know, I sort of did an introduction with the quick quote. I didn't want that to muddy the whole purpose, you know. So that was really a conceptual choice to make them in the same vein. And I thought it says a lot about sort of the characters, and you know, it's also in some respect it's a tool for the actors because they sort of can fight with the light. So when one's in control, they can snap into their light, and the other can take it away or turn it off. And so it serves a bunch of purposes.
It's funny too.
Right, and
I love
it's such a literal expression, and the light sets such a literal mood that when we snap to red, it means something different than if we snap to blue or green.
Absolutely.
So that's sort of where that came out of. I had fun with it. I hope it served your vision.
It definitely served my vision. And in fact, I had never seen this play done before. This is a really new I had some ideas after seeing it a couple times. So I saw it Friday night, both shows. And as I thought about it, I was like, wow, you know, I really want to, for example, work on her monologue when she talks about being so crushable and so vulnerable and soft and all of that. And I'm just seeing it on stage where I'm seeing Bug hovering there. He's really the soft one.
He's the crushable one.
He's the crushable one, but she's going through this whole, you know, realization of how that's her biggest fear, being so crushed. So I want to play with that a little bit more. I feel like there's more to mine. And until I saw it on stage, I didn't know what I wanted to do next.
Sure.
So seeing something, you know, brought to life in this way is really helpful for me as a playwright.
Well, and what a profound statement. I mean, what a profound thought that everyone is so crushable like Bug is. And I think, you know, it's a concept that is easily explored in what you've already done. And yet I agree, I think it can be explored even more deeply. And I hope I can see that.
Oh
sometime.
yeah, I'm excited to explore that a little bit more.
So tell me, how did this play evolve? How did it start?
Oh, how did it start?
Yeah.
Well, usually a play starts in some form of desperation. I needed to write something for a deadline,
Right.
And actually, a number of ideas usually kind of land on my. I have, you know, they just kind of land on my lap in a way, and they get in my head, and I start puzzling over something. It usually involves questions that I have that I'm trying to answer.
Right.
And putting a couple of characters, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters into a play and letting them grapple with the things of life is probably how I grapple with life.
For sure.
So in this case, I had to write a short play. I had to write a very quick play for a conference I was going to. And in the past year, right before I wrote it, a couple of girlfriends had told me about awful experiences with bed bugs. The bed bugs just upended their lives. I live in New York City, and I would hear awful stories. And then a third friend of mine said that there are bed bugs. The bed bugs were reported in his building, and I just kept hearing more and more, and I kept puzzling over it. And I thought, everybody feels great fear and there's a sense of desperation when a bed bug lands in your life.
Right.
And I have not experienced that myself, thank goodness. Yeah. But I wanted to create this situation that had to do with the bed bug because it seems like everyone's so afraid.
Totally.
And so I just played with these characters where they're both very desperate. This woman has just, her love has walked out the door. And then she spots Bug, and his life is going to be over. And she has anything to do with it.
Right.
So they are in a desperate situation, and it's an emergency. It's an emotional emergency for both of them, and it was really fun to work on that. It just kept building and building and building, and you know, it almost creates itself if you have the right situation.
Totally.
I always feel like drama, comedy, drama, tragedy, whatever. It's always about the situation, and that situation just came to me, and then the play evolved.
Well,